Then came the song Wrecking Ball, which I'm sure we all remember, where she was...
I came in like a wrecking... She still has no ass. That's insane. And the fact that niggas like used to think that this was provocative back in the day is crazy, bro. She came out wearing the fucking pink haircut with... no ass.
Pretty much an official announcement.
That's the thing that pisses me off most about this. The fact that she was trying to be provocative with absolutely no type of yams.
Racist against rappers, they all look the same to him. They used to beg him not to egg him on Halloween. He told him holler back with the suede Pumas, dollar green. Nah, I mean, heat it up till the temperature tarball. Y'all just gawk like gargoyle.
Yo, welcome back to the reaction channel, baby. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And today, man, we're taking it back. All of those embarrassing internet moments that have gone down in internet infamy, the most embarrassing publicity stunts of all time. Honestly, bro, I don't even understand. These are people who live by the principle that all publicity is good publicity, and that is not the case, bro. Off the top of my head, a crazy publicity stunt? I can't even think of one off the top of my head. That just shows you how sometimes they're really ineffective. Like, I can't really think about it. Like, what the fuck? Every time I think of a publicity stunt, I think of Kanye, but that's not even a publicity stunt. That's just Kanye actually being Kanye. I can't think of one. I can't think of one. This Matty Ballz going to reach out some cogs.
Publicity stunt is defined as something done just to get the attention of the public. This is very common in the music industry, as a musician.
Oh, Lady Gaga wore her meat dress.
Image is extremely important to their
Holy
career,
smokes.
and they also need to bring attention to their music to be successful. However, a lot of
Miley Cyrus's, oh my God, Lil Nas X, yeah, okay, it's all coming back in waves. No Diddy. Yeah, bro, the me dress on Lady Gaga was crazy. I remember when I heard that, I didn't even think it was real, but I was a kid when I heard that. But Lil Nas X putting like human blood inside of his Nike shoes was crazy, bro. I think that literally killed his career.
Musicians have done different sorts of PR
I think that literally killed his career.
And a lot of them have backfired tremendously. And when they succeed, they bring more attention to their music and more eyes to their art. However, there are quite a few PR stunts that have backfired tremendously. Like we saw when Michael Jackson made a documentary in an attempt to clear his name of his allegations, which ultimately made him look worse. Since Michael Jackson is one of the most famous people of all time, there are tons of documentaries about him. But maybe the most notorious one, Living with Michael Jackson, caused a unique amount of backlash. Living with Michael Jackson is a 2003 documentary.
I don't know about this. You can't make me hate Michael, bro. I don't care. I have not seen enough evidence.
In which journalist Martin Bashir shadowed Michael for about 8 months and conducted interviews along the way. Throughout the doc, Michael took Martin through his Neverland Ranch and around the world with him, and they talked about every part of his life. And it got pretty personal. The point is, this was a very intimate documentary, and that was the whole purpose of it. Michael agreed to the documentary, hoping that Martin would provide a more humanizing portrayal like he had done with Princess Diana in 1995, because by this point there were tons of rumors, allegations, and all sorts of whisperings about Michael Jackson, with one of the worst ones being about his relationship with kids. So the entire point of this documentary was to clear his name and make him seem normal. However, during multiple interviews, Martin brought up Michael's appearance and the odd interactions he had with children, and I'm not talking about the all-out allegations, you know, like the really bad stuff, more so the kids sleeping in his bed and living with him and things like that.
Okay, that is kind of crazy.
When you stay here, do you stay in the house? Does Michael let you enjoy the whole premises?
I can't get over the fact that this nigga literally had a fucking ranch in his backyard.
There was one night I stood in the yard, I asked him if I could stay in the bedroom, and he let me stay in the bedroom, and I was like, Michael, you can sleep on the bed. And he was like, no, you sleep on the bed, sleep on the bed. We're like, no.
But is it really appropriate for a 44-year-old man to share a bedroom with a child who is not related to him at all?
That's a beautiful thing.
That's not a worrying thing?
Why should it be worrying? Who's the criminal? Who's Jack the Ripper in the room? This is a guy trying to help heal a child. But I have slept in the bed with many children. I sleep in the
Why
bed
did you say that, Michael?
with all of them. When Macaulay Culkin were little, Kieran Culkin would sleep on this side, Macaulay Culkin's on this side, his sister's in there. We're all just jamming the bed.
Oh no, Michael, no!
We wake up like dawn.
Oh
no! Hot air balloon.
Regardless, these were just a few of the conversations in the documentary, but ones that definitely stood out in the editing room. which is where a lot of the issues began. Remember how Michael did this documentary thinking it would help him look more normal? Well, when the final cut was released, a different version of Michael was portrayed, and definitely not the one he was hoping for. Basically, Michael felt as if it was cut up in a way that pushed the weirdo narrative even further, especially with the kid stuff. Even other celebrities like Madonna chimed in and said, "I haven't seen that documentary, but it sounds disgusting. Like Bashir exploited a friendship. Publicly humiliating someone for your own gain will only come back to haunt you. I can assure you, all these people will be sorry. God's going to have his revenge." While other famous people who probably can relate to that feeling defended Michael, a lot of the media was not so kind. With some publications,
bro, I ain't gonna lie, I feel like early 90s, early 2000, well, not early 90s, what the fuck? I feel like the 90s, early 2000 media was way more cutthroat than it is now because so many people had celebrity fever. You know, nowadays niggas can just hop on TikTok and just say whatever they want, but I feel like back then it was all about the tabloids. It was always about the people had entire careers dedicated to just following celebrity antics. Like, it was crazy.
Calling the documentary PR suicide. Because of all the commotion, Martin spoke up to defend his documentary, saying, "I don't believe that I've betrayed Michael Jackson at all. I agreed that we would make an honest film about his life. The film was fair to his musical achievement and gave him every opportunity to explain himself. I'm not accusing anybody of being a child molester or pedophile." In response to all the controversy, Michael filmed his own response video that his cameraman recorded. This special contained footage which was not included by Martin, where he was complimenting Michael for a variety of things, including his parenting and conduct around kids. Also included was a couple new interviews with people close to Michael, such as his former wife Debbie Rowe, his parents Joe and Catherine, his brother Jermaine, and close friend Elizabeth Taylor. All of this was an attempt to repair his image after the documentary. Then, probably the worst possible thing for Michael's PR happened. The next month, following the controversy for Martin's documentary, Michael was charged with 7 counts of child molestation and 2 counts of intoxicating a minor with alcohol.
And that's crazy.
And the first witness that was called by the prosecution during the trial was none other than Martin himself. During the trial, he appeared to take neither side, begrudgingly answering the prosecution's questions and refusing to answer the defense's. In the end, Michael was acquitted of all these charges, but the documentary definitely didn't help his case.
Yeah, niggas will still to this day call him a child molester, bro, and it's crazy.
Especially considering they played the entire thing in court. Then, following Michael's death in 2009, Martin said, "Michael was never convicted of any crime, and I never saw any wrongdoing myself. And while his lifestyle may have been a bit unorthodox, I don't believe he was a criminal." So
people got to remember that, like, you know, Michael being acquitted is kind of like, it's kind of eye-opening, because it's kind of like, it's one thing to be found not guilty, it's one thing to be found to get acquitted. You know what I'm saying?
So it seems that Martin either felt bad, trusted the court's findings, or just didn't want to look like a dick after Michael Jackson died, so he stayed neutral. And as far as the publicity stunt overall, it definitely backfired for Michael Jackson.
I didn't even know that was something that Michael Jackson wanted to do.
On a similar note, Robin Thicke's career was kind of in a bad place when he tried a pretty bold PR stunt with Miley Cyrus. The 2013 MTV Video Music Awards featured massive names like Justin Timberlake, Bruno Mars, and many more. But those—
when the fuck was Bruno Mars not famous? Like, Bruno Mars has been famous forever.
Were not the stars who dominated that event. Instead, the media focused on Robin Thicke and recently ex-Disney star Miley Cyrus.
Jesus, this is when Miley was going through her fucking I can't even call it a hood rat phase. This is when Miley was pretending what she think that a black girl would be like on stage. You know, she was over there twerking her little uncooked turkey yams.
Remember, the two singers paired up to perform each of their recently released hit songs. First came Miley Cyrus with We Can't Stop, and honestly, the only way I can describe it is strange.
She is trying so hard, bro.
Twerking out, twerking out.
She had to have snorted something, bro.
She was clearly,
and the fact,
trying to break free from that Disney Hannah Montana, you know.
Yeah, and the fact that, like, people really thought that this was provocative back in the day is crazy, bro. She is twerking more her forehead than anything.
Clean image, and she wanted to put herself in a different conversation.
Holy shit.
Then, as Miley took off most of her costume, out came Robin Thicke.
Okay, now he was close. Tried to domesticate.
What the hell?
Now, I wanted to note this, but this is a 36-year-old man and a 20-year-old girl, which is kind of strange. Especially since at this point, Miley was still mostly known for being a Disney star. But then it got worse again and again.
There is nothing happening on this song that requires any of this motion whatsoever, Miley. Like, what the fuck are we even doing?
I remember watching this when it happened, and I was 11 in 2013.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember things when you're a kid, but for some reason, this stuck out to me.
Don't tell me I'm older than Matty Ballz, bro. I was 13 in 2013.
And having to watch it again years later is kind of rough. So the question is, why did Miley Cyrus and Robin do this? Well, by this point, Robin Thicke's career had already skyrocketed after the release of Blurred Lines.
I'd be honest, bro, I never really liked that song.
The song spent 13 weeks on top of the charts and was eventually certified as Diamond. However, not all of this attention was good. Well, the track...
Oh, yeah, because he was getting crazy allegations. I remember.
Undeniably defines Robin's career. Some listeners took issues with the lyrics about the whole Blurred Lines thing,
Yeah.
which became a big controversy.
Because, like, it was low-key hinting at, like, rape.
Genius explains on the song's lyric page saying, with its lyrics talking of blurred lines between consenting and non-consent, this number one hit was widely attacked for promoting rape.
Yeah, I remember this. I remember whenever, like, I forgot what I used to be on like hitlist.com and stuff like that. I used to read the fucking articles, bro. That's how deep I was into the culture. Nigga, I was shocked whenever they pointed that out. It literally, I was 13. It went over my head. I didn't realize that's what the fuck he was talking about.
It was mostly written by Pharrell Williams, who denied that it was about sex, instead saying it was about being rejected. On top of the moral issues, Robin and Pharrell were also...
But how you blur lines with rejection? Like, that's crazy.
Later hit with copyright infringement, since Blurred Lines had some obvious overlaps with Marvin Gaye's Got to Give It Up. All of this controversy tainted Robin Thicke's image, with him being labeled as a bit of a bad guy. And on top of that, I don't really know how else to describe this, but everyone kind of just thought Robin Thicke was a douchebag. I mean, that's just the vibe he gives off. If you've heard any of his songs or seen anything with him, he just seems like...
Blurred Lines was like the only thing from Robin Thicke that I knew.
For sure. So...
Oh, yeah. No, I remember in the videos like Robin is thick. Like, dude, yeah, nah, bro. I was 13. I didn't see
What did he decide to do? Well, he decided to lean into it with the bold award show performance to try to get even more attention. This was literally the most tweeted about event in Twitter history. So that partially explains his side of the 2013 award show stunt. But what about Miley? Well, in 2011, she made the inevitable decision of leaving Disney to pursue a career on her own and mature into the next phase. First, in 2013 came the song We Can't Stop. Critical reception was about as mixed as it gets, while the song's execution was good and it performed very well. However,
I ain't gonna lie, she made that 23 song with Juicy J and Wiz Khalifa. That shit was actually low-key kind of a banger, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. Mike Will made it. He be going crazy on these beats.
However, the content of the song threw a lot of people off. Then came the song Wrecking Ball, which I'm sure we all remember, where she was...
I came in like a wreck, and she still has no ass. That's insane.
Naked on top of a wrecking ball.
That's so crazy.
And both of these songs were on her album Bangers, which was...
And the fact that niggas like used to think that this was provocative back in the day is crazy, bro. She came out wearing the fucking pink haircut with... no ass.
Pretty much an official announcement.
That's the thing that pisses me off most about this. The fact that she was trying to be provocative with absolutely no type of yams.
World that the old Miley was gone. You know, the family-friendly Miley Cyrus was no longer there. This divided fans and parents harshly, which brings us back to the award show performance. Critics almost unanimously hated it, fans and celebrities were shocked, and parents especially expressed heavy outrage. An article by The Hollywood Reporter compared the performance to reminiscent of a bad acid trip. Another by XXL as a train wreck in the classic sense of the word, as the audience reaction seemed to be a mix of confusion, dismay, and horror in a cocktail of embarrassment.
I think nowadays, if somebody were to do something like this nowadays, niggas would unironically just laugh. Like, realistically, bro, the bar has been sent to hell. Like, the fact that this was seen as provocative back in the day is crazy.
What an elegant way to say it sucked. And this same sentiment was expressed by others on Rolling Stone, Telegraph, and more. But it's the Telegraph article that nailed it, saying Miley's performance was her going into overdrive, trying to kill off her Disney millstone, Hannah Montana. And honestly, it worked, since it's safe to say that anyone who would have worked with her for the influence as Hannah probably wouldn't anymore after seeing this. The performance generated over 300,000 tweets per minute and went viral. And all of this attention eventually funneled back into the
fact that you got backup dancers with like triple the cake that you got is crazy.
On the streams. Music by Robin and Miley experienced major spikes in downloads, and while the controversy did have some bad effects, attention is still attention. However, when your career doesn't have much fuel left, it's not always good to burn so bright. Robin's next album, Paula, which was oddly dedicated to his ex-wife, flopped horribly. commercially and critically.
I don't even know what the name.
I did an entire video on this, but he went through a pretty rough divorce, and I'm sure this VMA performance didn't help at all. And
I'll be honest, bro, I don't know any other Robin Thicke songs off the top of my head, bro. I can't imagine him singing seriously about his ex-wife.
when everyone thinks you're a giant douchebag, this entire event was just a catastrophe for him. Miley, on the other hand, did have fuel left to burn. In the following years, she went through a few more genre shifts and released multiple hits, and even won a Grammy for her song Flowers. Both Miley and Robin have
Flowers, I don't think I know that one.
admitted to the move being highly calculated and intended to create provocative headlines to generate buzz.
I mean, we kind of knew when we were in rehearsal, and we were like, okay, if you touch me with your foam finger all over my crotch, obviously a few people are going to have something to say about this. But that was the whole point. I mean, the whole point was to...
Yeah, but you're in your 30s. I mean, you know what?
To
you know what?
excite
Never
and
mind.
provoke and entertain.
You know now. You know what's happened. Madonna's done it. Britney's done it. Every VMA performance, anyone that performs, that's what you're looking for. You're wanting to make history. Me and Robin the whole time said, you know we're about to make history right now.
So in the end, the highly calculated publicity stunt did work, but mostly for Miley, as this just made people think Robin Thicke was more of a douchebag than he was before. And while this was a really big deal for these two artists, 50 Cent just kind of hilariously failed his attempt at a PR stunt. Back in 2007, a ton of massive albums were dropped, but when Kanye and 50 Cent went head to head, the entire world was watching.
I didn't even know. I was 7, bro. I didn't know they were having beef.
The feud basically hinged on which artist would sell more copies of their album, with 50 dropping Curtis and Kanye dropping Graduation.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, 50. Hang it up, brother. You're not... Nah, bro. Yeah, nah, bro. You were done.
In fact, Kanye even moved up his release date to line up with 50's for the sales
That's
competition
crazy.
to ensue.
I mean, it's just big for hip-hop for us to be coming out on the same date, but Kanye West doesn't stand a chance. You know, I'm going to tell you that early.
Doesn't stand a chance. Meanwhile, I don't think I know a single song off of the album Curtis, but nigga, I damn near know every song off of Graduation word for word.
Yeah. When it drops, my album is the pinnacle of what music is at that time. It's clearly the best album that you can buy. People understand that it's branded at this point. People understand I bring quality music. Then I said, let's just do 9/11. And they said 50 got that date. I said, okay, let's go.
Damn.
So let's go.
And matter of fact, he wasn't even lying. Like, usually Kanye be on something. That nigga wasn't even lying, bro. Graduation was a generational album, bro. What can I say?
Go, we shall.
Although looking back and hearing these two albums in the same conversation of comparison is pretty funny. The story even inspired an iconic Rolling Stone cover that year, mostly because 50 stated that if he lost the duel, he would quit making music. And, well, as you guys can probably imagine, 50 did lose by quite a large margin.
Yeah.
Graduation beat out Curtis by about 250,000 units.
Yeah.
And while Curtis still did well overall, in decent part due to the publicity stunt, 50 Cent took a big aura loss. The choreographed standoff was a driving force for both of their albums' promotion, but obviously the results favored one side significantly.
Yeah.
And around that time, it was kind of a surprise since Ye was still technically considered an underdog. By this point,
What?
50 Cent had everything
You know what? No. They're right. Yeah, they're right.
to lose. He was nearing, if not arguably at the end of his prime, going up against Kanye, who was relatively just starting his nuclear run. And because he was such a troublemaker, some believe that the industry's easiest way to frame 50 as irrelevant was to pit him against the socially progressive Kanye West, who'd come from a middle-class background, denounced homophobic views, and wore relatively snug clothing in the 2007 Sense of Snug, which is a heavy contrast to the gangster rap that 50 Cent thrived in. It's
Yeah.
actually kind of crazy how big of a deal this
Kanye literally shifted the culture, bro. Like, it's crazy. You can say whatever you want about Kanye now, but to say that he didn't literally change the culture, you're lying.
was because Kanye was denied from even being allowed to rap by his label. He was just a producer, and they were saying he was too hard to like promote because he wasn't gangster enough. You know, he was too middle class. And they,
Yeah.
like literally didn't know how to market that because gangster rap was one of the biggest things at the time.
Meanwhile, like, literally everybody's middle class. Like, the largest class in society is the middle class. All these other niggas who are listening to gangster rap back to back, you are LARPing. You know you don't be banging. You know you haven't got shot. You know you don't have many men that wish death upon you. Come on, bro.
Of course, this proved that gangster rap was sort of on its way out, and that a new style of music was on its way in, with Kanye leading the forefront.
Yeah.
From this point on, 50's career kind of slowed further and further into the lovable unk status that we all know and love, and Kanye into, well, a bunch of other things, but for a while he was loved by almost everyone. Some even argue that Kanye had a major role in killing off the gangster rap era that dominated mainstream hip-hop for a while, which I think is honestly true. So you could maybe even argue that this is a publicity stunt that backfired so hard that it not only unkified 50 Cent, but it also kind of knocked out a whole new genre and introduced a new one. And while the publicity stunt pinned them against each other, Kanye did still hold public reverence for 50's influence. He quoted 50's song Into Club on The Good Life, saying, 50 told me go ahead, switch the style up.
But if they hate, let them hate, and watch the money pile up.
Okay, so which one is your favorite Ye song? Have you heard the album Graduation?
Right now, well, as soon as I get my money right. I told him that in the studio before he put the song out. You know, I got a chance to hear that before his album came out.
No doubt. Good Life's also a banger. How did you feel when you heard him borrow one of your lyrics in that joint?
Now that was good. You see what I'm saying? 'Cause y'all got something else going on right now. That was good. I mean, but you know, that's what hip hop is. We borrow from each other all the time.
Which is a cool kind of passing of the torch moment. And 50 later admitted that the dramatic stakes of never making music again were just a marketing ploy. So while both artists were turning pages in their careers, and this stunt helped them flip that page, they ended up at very different points. And the only PR stunt that I can think of that's more iconic than this one or any of the others on this list is when Lady Gaga wore the meat dress. Now, just a little clarification here. I don't think this one really backfired that hard. I just wanted to talk about it because it's so iconic. You know, as a kid, I grew up hearing about Lady Gaga and the meat dress. That's all.
That's what I heard about too. I heard about her having a meat dress, and I thought that people were lying.
I knew is that she was the lady who wore the meat dress, but I still don't know why. I've never looked it up, so that's what we're talking about. Lady Gaga had been known to be quite the oddball throughout her career, and one of her most iconic moments was when she showed up to the 2010 VMAs in a dress made of meat. Now, people wearing some unique or bold clothes to award shows is nothing new, Gaga included.
Imagine having your whole titty out and still getting blown out the water by somebody else.
One saw the meat dress coming. While most in attendance and online were just confused or even a little put off, PETA, obviously amongst others, protested the decision pretty hard. Ellen, for example, who is a known vegan, was somewhat outspoken against the fashion choice.
Oddly enough, I get most of your outfits.
Didn't Ellen get exposed for being a piece of shit? I gotta watch a video explaining that.
I really do. But I saw the cover of the Vogue, Japanese Vogue, right?
Yes.
And you have a meat bikini on, and now I guess that's underneath the dress. But you have the meat bikini on, and then you have the meat dress. So what is because I'm vegan, and it's not, that's kind of...
It's not my luck.
Ironic. But anyway,
what if it was human meat? How would you feel?
What is the purpose of the meat?
Gaga tried to explain that the meat dress was a protest against the United States military's don't ask, don't tell policy in regard to gay service members, but the connection between raw meat on a dress and gay liberation wasn't very clear to most spectators, and her explanation to Ellen didn't seem to help so much.
It has many interpretations, but for me this evening, it's as if we don't stand up for what we believe in, if we don't fight for our rights, pretty soon we're going to have as much rights as the meat on our bones.
Yeah, nah, that you see how they do, like, I guess, yeah, nah, bro, they weren't feeling that lady.
All right. And I am not a piece of meat.
But in the end, like I said, it didn't backfire that hard. No one got too upset about it. Most people just saw it as an odd way to protest the mission she was standing up for, making this one of the lower stakes publicity stunts. Stakes? Yeah.
Okay, bro.
And it wasn't all bad, though. Partly awarded in recognition of the dress, Vogue ended up naming her as one of the best dressed people of 2010.
Imagine going to the fucking awards, having your whole titty out, and then you're getting blown out by a woman covered with some fucking beef.
For this, Time magazine named the dress the fashion statement of the year. Then the meat dress was displayed at the National Museum of Women in the Arts in 2012 and entered the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in September 2015. So honestly, aside from PETA and other animal activist groups, which can be a bad bunch to upset, this one didn't bite back quite as hard. However, Lil Nas X arguably ruined his career with this next PR stunt. You guys might think I'm being hyperbolic when I say he ruined his career with this, but I genuinely think this is part of what led to his downfall.
No, I'm not kidding, bro. Like he went against the Christians way too hard and got blown the fuck out. That's what happened. It was rash when he put the blood in the sneakers. That's when niggas said, yeah, we can't fuck with this.
You'll see as I explain it. Since the rapid rise of Lil Nas X following his hit song Old Town Road, he's had plenty of ups and downs and controversial moments, many of which I think we can argue were publicity stunts. Whether it be the devil shoes, the fake pregnancy, the Montero music video.
Oh yeah, I forgot he faked being pregnant. That was crazy.
Or any of the others. His use of
I didn't care about the Montero video because I didn't watch it.
Viral marketing was his thing, but I think the J. Christ controversy is really what was the nail in the coffin. Back in 2024, Lil Nas X announced the single titled J. Christ, and upon its release, the track became his first lead single to not reach #1 on the charts. But the underwhelming performance is not what most people were talking about. Aside from the title's reference to Jesus Christ, the risky rebranding went much further. On top of the song, Lil Nas X continued with his religious and satanic imagery with an odd website prompting fans to save him. Then when he revealed the artwork for J. Christ, which featured him laid out on a cross, people were obviously upset. However, if some were just upset before, when
he snapped the devil's ankles,
the music video eventually dropped, they were beyond livid. The video opens up with a ton of celebrity lookalikes walking up what appears to be a stairway to heaven. Then the next shot shows Lil Nas walking into heaven after the gates open and waving to a moonwalking Michael Jackson lookalike. The camera then pans down following a stripper pole all the way to hell where a devilish Lil Nas is waiting. Then it switches to a floating basketball court where he dunks the ball on a demonic figure and starts dancing with the cheerleaders. And then there was the big moment that everyone was really upset about, which was Lil Nas tied up on the cross and a bunch of other unique scenes, including Nas and Noah's Ark. At the end of the video,
offending people with a music video in the 2020s is crazy, because you'd think we'd seen it all by now, but no.
Appears the text, Day 0, a new beginning, and therefore if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away, behold the new has come. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Now, this may not have been a big deal on its own, but because of his history of doing the Montero music video and the devil shoes and all these other things, people thought this was just like him pushing it too far of mocking Christianity. And because of this, Lil Nas X faced some pretty severe public backlash. Yeah, the music video doesn't really even have that many views for how extra this was. It has 28 million views, which is good, but for Lil Nas X, it's not that crazy. And it has 400,000 likes and 220,000 dislikes, so people were pretty upset. And he was
This must be before YouTube disabled the dislike button.
Doubling down across social media. For example, he uploaded a TikTok of him eating communion wafers and taking the wine like it was a tray of shots at the club, and a lot of religious figures and even musical peers condemned his actions as wrong.
Yeah, like why is he doing this? This is
disrespectful.
He's doing
Along
too
with
much.
This came a mass unfollowing.
It's not even funny.
Of Lil Nas X on social media, which appeared to finally get his attention, and that prompted him to release an apology.
I wanted to not necessarily apologize, but I wanted to explain like where my head at and where it's been for like the last week.
Apparently it's been in Satan's lap.
So first of all, when I did the artwork, I knew like there would be some upset people or whatnot, simply because religion is a very sensitive topic for a lot of people. But I also didn't mean to like mock. This wasn't like a
brother
to you people, to the Christians, like it was not that.
Brother, this guy stinks.
Clarification video, he explained that his intention was never to mock, more so just to use the imagery to explain that he's back like Jesus. He also acknowledged his history of using religious imagery and how he can understand where people are coming from, but it wasn't his intention with this occurrence. He did admit that the communion video went a little overboard and apologized. And genuinely since then, I haven't heard or seen much from Lil Nas X aside from the thing where I guess he's struggling with drugs or something. I don't even know, because no one
I didn't even know that.
is really talking about him. I do understand where his imagery is.
He literally got ejected out of the ecosystem.
Coming from, as he's spoken in interviews about how he was very religious growing up, but because he's also gay, he felt like this weird confliction, and religion was a really big part of his life, and he felt like that was suppressing who he really was. So I can understand his potential disdain for it, or at least the reason why it's so prominent in his music. But the way he goes about,
does anybody actually tell us if the song is actually good or not? Because I don't even know.
About approaching it in his music videos seems a lot more like goofy and almost as if it's mocking rather than like a more tasteful or elegant way of talking about it. And again, I don't really care personally, personally, but I can understand where people are getting upset.
Yeah.
And this ended up hurting the release of his album and his brand as a whole, which by 2024 was already sort of damaged. And while Lil Nas X's PR stunt was bold, Garth Brooks was just flat out strange. Garth Brooks, who is uniquely named Troyal, is an insanely popular multi-diamond country singer. And when
I don't know who he is.
Say insanely popular, he literally has the most diamond albums in history at 10, which is more than Michael Jackson, it's more than the Beatles, it's more than everybody. Which
I don't know who this guy is.
Makes his whole Chris Gaines thing all the more weird. Back in 1999, Garth decided to take on the persona of Chris Gaines, a made-up rock and roll musician and character for an upcoming film titled The Lamb. Playing Chris required Garth to wear a wig, makeup, and even a fake goatee. It was an entire switch up from his previous image with like this emo thing that he was trying to do. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, that he was denying that he was Garth Brooks. Instead, he was just saying that he's Chris Gaines, a completely different guy. This
I don't even know who Garth Brooks is.
Old concept film was to be made by his production company alongside the help of Paramount Pictures. So
Did it even
there was
come
some
out?
pretty serious backing for this project. When the film's pre-release soundtrack, Garth Brooks in the Life of Chris Gaines, was released, it was faced with a ton of public criticism. Now, to Garth's credit, he may have developed the Chris character and the backstory himself, but he didn't write a single song on this album, which honestly may be worse. Garth also appeared as Chris in a television mockumentary called Behind the Music, and also as a musical guest on an episode of SNL, which he hosted and introduced himself on.
Yet Chris Gaines is one of rock and roll's most enigmatic figures.
There's this sort of air of mystery, and I often wonder, did he create it, or is it really a natural part of his personality?
From his solo debut in 1989, Chris Gaines has been hellbent on leaving his mark on rock and roll.
Once Chris decided to become a solo artist, he was totally 100% committed.
This shit is in 480p, brother.
He went after that with such fury that nothing was going to stop him until he became the biggest artist in the world.
One of the traits I got from my father was success is only success if it comes again. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Gaines.
What the hell?
Garth's promotion of the album and the film got little to no good attention, and the project's failure was realized pretty quickly following its release. Most of the American public was either baffled or completely unreceptive to the idea of Garth Brooks playing some emo rock.
I think that's worse than like it backfiring when niggas just don't care. That's gotta be the worst.
Rockstar. Sales of the album were lackluster, especially compared to his run of diamonds. And although it made it to the #2 spot on the Billboard Hot 100, expectations were much higher, so stores were forced to heavily discount their oversupply of merchandise. The album sales were so bad that they decided to cancel the movie side of the project entirely, and it was never filmed or released. Even the concept as a whole completely faded out, and Chris Gaines slowly drifted away, being forgotten entirely by tons of fans. Looking back, many people think that this was just Garth trying to try different genres out, you know? I mean, lots of artists do different projects. But
it's not bad. Like, it's not like disgusting or anything. Like, we just watched Lil Nas X pretend to be Jesus sucking off the devil. Like, by comparison, you know, I'd rather somebody pretend to be emo than somebody pretend to be Jesus sucking dick.
The stunt utterly failed and probably did a lot in pushing him away from the idea of expansion. It is hilariously ironic that the album was intended to generate buzz and get people excited for the movie and even a potential genre switch, but instead it got the entire thing shut down. One music critic said, when Brooks' new persona and his album were revealed to the public, they were unforgiving, they didn't think he was playing a role, they simply thought he'd lost his mind. What's crazy is, after all this controversy tied to the failed stunt, Garth decided to opt for a conveniently timed retirement. Officially, he announced it was to have more time to raise his kids, and part of it probably was, but this all took a decent chip out of the star's ego.
That nigga was definitely embarrassed.
Especially after the very successful run he experienced. So the almost 15 years off probably came for a few reasons, but the Chris Gaines stuff may have been the straw that broke the camel's back. If you like this video, you might like my video about marketing fails, which are very
nice. W video by Matty Ballz. I feel kind of crazy for not knowing who the hell Garth Brooks is, bro. But that's just how untouched I am with country, I guess. Anyway, y'all have a beautiful day.